How's everyone doing?
My name is Mike the Microphone.
Hi, and I'm Final Draft.
And we have a special request of these noted musicians who are flopping about on the stage. Get the hell out of here.
No, there they go. That's Alex S., the Living Tombstone, and that son of a Mitch. Say hi, everybody.
I'm really looking forward to that concert.
Yeah, by the way, just so you know, you guys, tonight at 7, Pony Stock, featuring Michelle Krieber, Acoustic Brony, and God only knows how many more musicians. And tomorrow night, Pony Stock Electric. We got myself, Mike the Microphone. You got Alex S., the Living Tombstone, Eurobeat Brony, Silva Hound. So it's going to be one hell of a show. But you're not here for that right now, are you?
That is some impressive memorization right there.
You know what? You get used to it. You see
I'm already used to it. You're just too darn talented.
I hate it.
You're
I'm so
just too
tired of
darn
hearing these
talented.
names. I'm sick of it.
Who else is jealous of his sunglasses? I am. No, you can have them. You can have them. Take it to them. All right. Well, anyway, okay. Well, this is the writer / storyboarder / I don't remember what the exact official title. Yeah, I'm getting shrugs over there. Somebody have the official title of the panel? Somebody shout it out. Script to storyboard. Well, that's a good way to encompass it. Yes, there is a storyboarders panel that's going to be on Sunday as well. Why don't I introduce two very, very important women in the production of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, Miss Sibsy, aka Sabrina Alberghetti. You may know her as Wildfire, and as a diehard fan of Toyota Corollas.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, Amy Keating-Rogers.
Hello.
Do you want to wear these?
So far away. No, these are too big for me.
Those look good on you. Just saying. All right. Well, so why don't you introduce yourselves? Sibsy, you are one of the senior storyboarders on My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, and you have been from the beginning. Why don't you just give these guys a quick idea of, the scope of the work you've done with the show?
It's a lot of work, and been doing it for a long time. But I like the show so much that whenever new shows come up and we have the opportunity to leave a production, I kind of fight to stay on My Little Pony. So it's good.
There you go.
And I draw ponies.
That's an incredibly understated way of putting it. Well, and then of course, Amy Keating-Rogers, you're one of the lead story writers for the program for seasons 1, 2, and now 4. So what sorts of secret details about season 4 can you reveal for all of us right now? Okay.
Besides Pinky becoming an alicorn princess, as was revealed during the earlier meeting or panel, just a lot of awesomeness for season 4. I think everybody's really gonna dig it, right?
It's pretty awesome.
It's really awesome. Yes.
Well, okay, so I guess this is script to storyboard, and that implies that we should kind of go into detail about how that process works.
Switch places?
Yes.
They want to switch places, okay.
She goes first.
It's logical.
All right, so starting with script, you write the script. How do you, in general, how does the process of writing a script for an episode work? I know that there's a story meeting usually.
Yeah. So first, we generally have some sort of writer's summit where we spitball, and that's the term for, just kind of throwing out ideas. We call it spitballing, and come up with ideas for a bunch of different episodes. Those are either, in seasons 1 and 2, Lauren and Rob would write those ideas up and present them to Hasbro and the Hub. In season 4, Megan has us actually write up those story ideas, and they're sent in. And once you get an approved idea, even if you write up an idea, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up writing that episode. And there's, that's not a big deal. It's just that kind of stuff. It just depends on how things kind of land on your availability and, what goes where and that kind of stuff. But you get assigned an episode. Then you meet with, currently I'm going to talk about present. You meet with Megan and usually another writer, so that you have 3 people in the room. Back with Lauren and Rob, you automatically had 3 people in the room. And it's just good to have those 3 minds in there as opposed to just two, because you can get kind of stuck with just two people. And then you talk about the story and you figure out the story. And either you have, with Rob and Lauren, we had index cards where we had Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and you beat out the whole story and figure out all the elements of it and make sure you have a cliffhanger at the end of Act 1 and Act 2 and a conclusion at the end of Act 3, let's hope. And with Megan, we instead use a whiteboard, but either way, it works, same difference. And you come up with the beats and come up with funny jokes and just really flesh out that story so that then you can go back home, the writer goes back home and writes out the outline, which outlines the entire story. You write that up, you then send that in to the network, first to the story editor who gives you any notes, then send it to the network who gives you more notes, and hopefully they approve it and move it forward. And then you get to script it. And so that's taking, you've already outlined where you're going with the story, so now you get to have the fun of writing the dialogue, because you know where you're going and everything, so now you get to make the characters talk. And so that's, the fun of it all. With Pony, you have a teaser, so that's generally 3 pages of the script, and each act is 11 pages, approximately 10 to 11 pages, so that you end up with a 30 to 33 page script, and so you just kind of plot it out like that, so that you have everything. You don't want to run too long and have a 35-page script, and
no.
and so you get that first draft done, and you send it in again to your story editor, do any notes and changes, and then it's sent to the network. You do second draft and polishes and really get it so it's in really good shape, so that then it gets passed on to the storyboard artist.
Well, and I thought it was funny when you said you get to make the ponies talk. Sibsy over there kind of glared over because I think
I can't open my water bottle.
There you go. Well, she glared over because, in the sense, you determine how the ponies talk and walk physically. So you're given that script, that 35-page monster that.
Well.
No.
When we get long ones, we're like, oh, we got a long one today. We're in trouble. Because the problem is, if they're long, we only have 22 minutes to do everything, and we find that typically the back half of the episodes, especially two-parters, are so heavy. Because the beginning is always just the setup, and it's kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it's, it's setting up what's going on, and then for some reason, I always seem to get stuck on the back half of shows. The most work, but yeah.
Well, so maybe you could describe really quick, what the role of a storyboarder is when you get that script. What do you draw up in the storyboard specifically? What do you look for in the script to convey before it goes off to animation?
Storyboarding is such a hard job to describe in one word, and I hate when people ask me what I do, because I'm like, I draw pictures, I draw ponies, or whatever I'm drawing. But basically, a storyboard is a visual representation of a script. That's kind of the easiest way to lay it out. So basically, we get a script, let's say from Amy, and she'll have a paragraph that describes, whatever pony is jumping over, or, I think Applejack, I did one of Applejack's racing around a track. We'll get a little descriptive paragraph, and we have to kind of embellish and make it interesting. We have to come up with every shot. We have to come up with every the character's personality. Are they in a good mood? Are they in a bad mood? Are they determined? Basically, everything you see on the screen comes from the storyboards. It's just a not polished version of what you're seeing on the screen. We work out every cut. Basically, the character's personalities is where they come to life in storyboarding.
Well, I'm going to use an example of an episode. Tell me if this is one you didn't work on, but it's a season 1 episode that you wrote, which is Bridal Gossip. Now, you didn't work on that one?
No.
Did you work on it at the gala?
No.
Which episodes of season 1 did you work on?
Oh, geez. Dragon Shy was my very first episode ever. So that was weird getting your feet wet with a brand new show, and it was a pretty heavy, like, for the time, it was a pretty heavy action show, like the Avalanche, and I had storyboarded out like a really cool sequence that was bigger than what ended up in the show, just because it's really hard to do really nice action. Sometimes in Flash it's a bit restricting, so we always have to, they'd like us to push as much as we can, like make really cool shots, and we'll do what we can, but season 1, we could only do so much. I'm sure if it was redone now, it would be like super badass.
Well, I'm just thinking in terms of an example, just because my question is for both of you.
Yeah.
Amy, when you have an element in a script you wrote, like for example, you wrote at the Gala, you also wrote Bridal Gossip and I think Ticketmaster, right? When there's an element in any episode that you really want to be conveyed visually, do you write that into the script? So for example, I'm of course favored towards this. There's the poison joke flowers that are in Bridal Gossip. Do you write in the script blue poison joke flowers, or is that something that the storyboarders took and then decided that's the way they wanted to go with it?
I can't remember if I said what color the poison joke flowers were. I mean, gosh, it's been a long time since I wrote that script. I described that they were, a plant that all the ponies were standing in, and don't make too big a point of the fact that they're all standing in this, but make sure that we see that they are standing in it, but don't be like, hey, this is a story point, hey, this, so that fine line. But I certainly didn't design the plant. That's something that they later.
Well, I guess a general question then, when you have that script, are there, say, descriptive paragraphs in there to describe certain specific important story elements then? Okay, so what would a...
I know, I wrote The Last Roundup and you storyboarded that, so that's one that we could, so like with the cherry sorting scene.
Yes.
I know I wrote a lot of stuff, but I know you must have, I know you blew it out and did more with it then.
Yeah, like, I can't, oh God, it's been so long.
I know, it's hard because...
Oh, and there's so many.
Well, maybe if I ask this, it might jog your memory. I mean, this is a scene obviously inspired by the famous scene from I Love Lucy.
Right.
Yes.
Did you guys both, in your own ways, watch that scene to reference it, or?
I actually didn't. I know what I knew when I read the script what she was referencing, but I don't like going directly to the source because I don't want to copy. I kind of would rather have it in my memory as a, it's my interpretation of what I think that sequence should be. And to build it with the timing with Applejack getting angrier and angrier and cutting quicker and quicker, and then everything just explodes, just to show how angry she was. Like, that's the kind of things that storyboarders have to think about to help push that idea that the writer is giving us, that she's losing her patience with her friends. And so how do we show that visually the best we possibly can, and funny, hopefully.
Yeah, and I actually didn't go back and watch it either because I'm such a huge I Love Lucy fan, I didn't need to.
It just played in your mind anyway.
Yeah, I really did. So I knew what I wanted from it, and I also knew that we were twisting it with our characters. We were making it our own. And the fact that, which I loved when we were in the story meeting and we said, we should do, we're on this cherry farm, let's have them sort cherries, let's, and Applejack is running the machine, which is different than I Love Lucy. The person running the machine was unseen. So to me, it was such a fun, great element that we had Applejack's character running the machine, that her frustration and anger was driving the machine going faster, and thus with Pinky and Fluttershy having to sort it. And when we were in the story meeting, it's like, okay, which of the characters are bothering Applejack and are harassing her and trying to get answers from her, and who are the ones who are trying to sort, who are going to be the funniest people, ponies to do which jobs. Okay, because you have 6 and you have to deal with these 6. So you have Applejack, obviously she's on the thingamajig, and Twilight is obviously going to grill for questions. So and then for the sorting part, having Pinky and Fluttershy was such a good combination because of, how they would each react, so differently. So it all just played into the comedy of it. But then the visual part of it, I did my best writing what was in my mind, but then
how do we
you get
make
to
that,
draw it.
how do we push it further? Essentially, it's always our job is to take what's written and just make it even better every step of the way, right? Storyboards to animation, push it, push it, push it. But yeah, it's, drawing Pink, I can't remember, I think she's the one that gets it, she just shoves her mouth basically at the end of the thing, it just explodes. Like, that kind of stuff sometimes isn't in the scripts. I think that one might have been, I can't remember, but that's stuff that we get to add to, it's character things. We kind of give them little nuances or little looks or.
Well, that's always been my question whenever I watch a episode, like a new episode comes out, is that when it's not a spoken line, I always wonder, okay, what has been purely developed by the storyboarders and what was written into the script as a description? I guess maybe, Amy, for the episodes you've gone back and watched, has there been anything in one of the episodes you've written that really surprised you that the storyboarders put in there?
Yeah, when Pinky, A Friend Indeed, the whole felt scene.
Yes.
And that was
It's
that
amazing.
Jason? I think that was Jason, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing, that whole thing. And I knew I hadn't written that. I didn't say Pinky looks to breaks the fourth wall. I didn't know we were even allowed to do that kind of thing.
We are now.
She finds a way.
Yeah. So I was watching it and I think, this is amazing. And that really blew
And
my
that was
mind.
done just like, we have some extra time, let's try and make it kind of cool and try something different.
And that was
It was
Jason,
good.
wasn't it?
And his wife, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I should really give a big shout out to the writers the writers obviously, but also the storyboarders who aren't here, like the storyboarders like Jim Miller and Woody and
Oh, there's so many.
you had all
yeah.
those guys up there because they do a lot of this work too. I guess, what do you think, Sibsy, was the most challenging piece of script that you had to storyboard from My Little Pony that you received? What did you look at and groan in anguish from?
The one I can't talk about, the one I'm working on right now. It's amazing, but it's like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have to do this. Why did they put me on this show?
So what is the one that you can talk about?
Okay, coincidentally enough, last roundup was a challenge for me because I'm personally not, I don't think I'm very good at action sequences. I'm better with character emotions, if they're having a fight or if they're upset with each other. That's kind of my forte. So when I got last roundup, I got the action heavy stuff at the end, and I was like,
Right,
I said to
chase.
Jim, I was like, oh God, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And we worked together, and I'll do a thumbnail pass, which is just really tiny little drawings that just, you get all your ideas out right away. You just put everything down that you see on paper. Sometimes it's the first thing that comes to mind is always the best way, because you can really overthink what you do, and you can do the same shot so many different ways. You can say the same thing 10 different ways, but you're trying to find the best way to convey what's on the written page, so the viewer finds it entertaining. But last roundup was tricky for me, but it's always nice when you get through it, you can sit back and go, holy cow, like, where did that come from? Like, I don't know, it came from inside here, it came from, it's kind of a nice joint effort, but I would say last roundup, and I'm sure there was another one. Probably I can't talk about it though.
Well, one thing I've noticed that's interesting about actually these conventions is that a lot of times it's the first time that different areas of the show production, like the different staff, have met each other. Did you guys have any kind of interaction before these conventions, like
No.
personally,
No.
or you just received the script in the mail and? open it up, and there you go.
We get the script on our desk. We have our meeting, our storyboard meeting, and we go through the script, and we see if things are long, because it's a lot of work, and we don't have time to draw everything in there. If it can be cut down, it just saves a lot of drawing hours.
So when you showed up at one of these conventions, have you ever just decided, just had it out with one of the writers, like, why did you write that? Or did you ever say, why did you storyboard it that way? I mean, like...
I haven't.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. They answered it seriously.
Sorry.
No, I haven't murdered anyone. Well, I guess, was there anything looking back, like when you've seen an episode of yours that's been storyboarded, have you ever gone and looked, or I should say, finished animation, have you ever looked at it and thought, I would have animated it differently? Or I guess, conversely, Sibsy, has there ever been a script you received and you thought to yourself, I wish they had written it this way to change the way that you would have drawn it? Have you ever had that kind of a challenge?
Sometimes it's usually really minor, and we just change it anyway.
Do you have an example of that?
Probably not. I'm sorry. It's always just little things, like it might not make total sense. It's like, why don't we do it this way, and then we can maybe connect a character or a story element together that maybe wasn't totally working in the script to help flesh it out a little bit. Because again, we only have so much time. You have so much time to do your job.
Right.
We only have so much time to do our job, and that's the toughest part, I think, of storyboarding, is just getting it out as fast as possible, but as good as possible.
What kind of timetable do you usually work with?
Myself personally, I like to do 3 weeks of thumbnails. I like to really think first and flush everything out. And my thumbnails are really tight, which isn't really an industry standard. Everyone complains, they're like, your stuff is too clean, just loosen up. It's always loosen up. But I like to do all the thinking first, and then my last 3 weeks, I'll just sit back and I'll do cleanup. And cleanup is essentially once your thumbnails have been approved from the director, I basically just sit back for 3 weeks and just make them look pretty on a bigger panel. And then that's what goes to the animatic, which is then timed out.
Well, I'm going to ask one last general question before I throw it to a little bit of Q&A. There is a microphone there. If you guys have questions for Sibsy or Amy Keegan-Rogers, if you could line up to the side and then towards the microphone, that would be perfect. But my last question before we get to the open Q&A is, for both of you, who is your favorite character to write and who is your favorite character to draw?
Everybody's heard me say this. I love writing for Pinkie Pie because she's awesome, because she's funny and silly and she sings, and I love getting to write music anytime I can. It's it's a talent that I wish I had more of a talent for, and so the fact that I get to do it at all is awesome, and Pinkie is the pony that tends to burst into song, so for her, that's just a joy.
You've been known to do that too, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
You can't pick Wildfire, by the way.
No. I actually didn't draw her. But I would have to say Rainbow Dash, actually. It's kind of a toss-up between Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie I like because she's the only character we can pretty much do whatever with. She breaks the wall. Like, we've got some weird stuff happening with her coming up. And I like that freedom, but for some reason I never seem to get the Pinkie Pie episodes, so I'm always bummed. Although I did get too many Pinkie Pies, so I did get all of that kind of out of my system in one show. So that was fun.
Well, and actually, I'll just as a quick follow-up then say, when you write for Pinkie Pie and when you storyboard for Pinkie Pie, is it now just in your mind that she breaks all laws of physics? Because that's kind of been what we've been seeing in the show. I mean, is that how you approach it now?
Yeah, she started off kind of weird, but I think she's gotten like crazy over the last few seasons. But I like Rainbow Dash visually because with the other ponies, they're on the ground, and I remember Lauren way back when was saying like she doesn't want too many human gestures, so it's hard to act with horses. You put their hooves up and. But with Rainbow Dash, I always liked because whenever I had her in scenes, I'd always stick her in the air because you can you could full body gesture with it. It was a lot more freedom, just using body language for a change instead of just an expression. So I'd probably say Rainbow Dash just for that lame reason.
How's that lame reason? All right, well, let's get to the Q&A.
So, when you first started doing what you do for My Little Pony, were you kind of nervous about joining, or were you like really excited and thinking you would blow everyone's minds away?
When we started working on Pony,
Yeah.
I was a little nervous because it was a new show and you never know, you hope it's going to be good. I was one of the first writers that Lauren brought on. So, she put a lot of faith in me, and so that was a really big deal, and I didn't want to disappoint her. So yeah, I was in on the first story meeting for the pilot with Lauren. It was me and Lauren and a guy named Paul Rudish. We worked on figuring out the pilot together. And then Lauren was busy writing the pilot, and then I took Lauren had a shorter version of Ticketmaster, and I needed to make it longer, and it was kind of, go and do it. Lauren and I talked about it, obviously, but it was me jumping in and doing it. So yeah, I was nervous because it was a big responsibility, and I took it very seriously because I knew Lauren took it very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of the same because I think I was coming off, Kid versus Cat or something, and there was word around the studio that, there was the potential that we were going to get this new show. And, would you be interested? We wanted to have some, it was nice because they wanted to have some females, obviously, which was nice. And at first when I heard My Little Pony, I was just like, ooh, I don't know, because you automatically go back to the old, which I loved the old one when I was a kid, but still, it's like, well, and then as soon as I saw Lauren's drawings, as soon as I saw them, I was like, yep, I'm sold. Like, it was instantly, like, get me on the show. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they were beautiful designs.
Yeah.
Well, these
Lucky.
weren't the first shows you guys had worked on in your careers. I mean, you had worked on Powerpuff Girls, and you worked heavily on Ed, Ed and Eddie. Yeah, there are a lot of Ed fans in here. For the record, there's a lot of crossover there. I mean, Raven worked on Ed, Ed and Eddie.
Yeah, there's a bunch of us sold, AKA.
A lot of the
guys working on
voices are the same.
ponies. Yeah, that's probably where the weird humor comes from sometimes.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
My question has more to do with the music side of things, and it's more for Sibsy, but as you showed in the writing panel, you have some definite music talent, Amy. So when you get a song in a script, how do you go about working the storyboard around the music so it matches up, as well as working out everything so it stays on beat, but it's still interesting and works visually as well?
So you mean like the timing of?
Yeah,
much
like
the timing
how
of how it
the
goes?
timing of everything, because the music's done one way, but then you're trying to animate around it too. So when you're trying to just storyboard it out, do you
Yeah.
have the music with you too, or do you kind of work around that?
Basically, when I get a song, I'll listen to it a few thousand times, and I just like to think about it and try and come up with visuals. I'm trying to pick one I did a Big Brother song. So I'll get the song, I'll listen to it, and then I'll start, this is what I do, I'll put down key visuals that I have in my head that come up right away. Just get them out on paper, put them down so I don't forget them. And then what I'll do is I'll try and piece those together so they make sense after. I'll go back and think a little bit more. As for the timing, some people like to thumbnail their songs in Flash because you can scrub it and you can play the music with the timing and get it all worked out. I don't know Flash at all, so I kind of do it the harder way, which is a pain in the butt, but it works for me. Where I essentially will just play the song on my Windows, whatever, and I'll just like scroll through each panel with an arrow button on my computer. So every drawing I did will come up, but I can kind of see it animating on the screen just at my own time. It's probably not the best way to do it, but I don't know how to use Flash, so it's my way of doing it. And then once that's done, it'll be put into the animatic, and it'll be all timed out perfect, and it'll be
Yeah.
good. And I don't have to worry about it after that. But that's how I do it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome.
That's good. I wondered that too.
I do it the small way.
Hello.
Hey there.
Lift it up, lift it
Does
up.
it hear? Do you hear properly? Okay. Other than the obligatory "Where's season 5" question, you say that you go through a lot of scripts. You write a lot, and a lot of them get thrown out. And this, I don't know if this applies to storyboarding. Probably not. What's the best work that one or both of you have done that that has been scrapped and will never ever see the light of day? Like, what hurt you the most to see hit the discard pile?
The thing that hurt me the most was the scene that was cut from the last roundup.
I'm sorry. It wasn't my call.
I know. It was the scene where Derpy and Rainbow Dash are bucking the bolts out of the clouds, and you see why Rainbow Dash was frustrated with Derpy. It's not just, oh, Rainbow Dash was frustrated with Derpy for no good reason. She was frustrated.
She had darn good reason.
She had a very good reason, and Derpy was, she couldn't hear Rainbow Dash's direction because they were bucking bolts. And so that scene being cut, if it hadn't been cut, I think there would have been a lot more understanding of what was going on between those two characters, and I think, you know, there just would have been a lot more, you know, it would have been a lot clearer, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of feelings wouldn't have
Wouldn't
been
be so
hurt.
controversial.
Wouldn't have been so controversial, because there,
Yeah.
you know, you would have had more character development. So that's the one that was a bit of a bummer.
Great. Thanks so much.
Hi.
Hi.
So my question is, in what ways, big or small, has the fandom influenced your approach to the show? Because the show's not specifically meant for us, but both of you are very active online, on Twitter, and you come to conventions, so I'm just curious, there must be some degree of influence there, so if you could talk about that.
Yeah, in the writing, we're obviously, I mean, we are obviously aware of you guys, but at the same time, the show was and is intended for a particular audience, and we can't change that, and we don't want to change that, and that's what everybody likes about the show, and so we try to we remain true to that, because I think if we changed or pandered or anything, then people would be upset because we would be changing what, you know, the core of the show is. That said, we know what you guys enjoy, and so
And what we enjoy.
yeah, and what we enjoy, but unfortunately what you guys enjoy is what we enjoy, and that's what everybody responds to. So we just kind of keep trying to do what we do because that seems to have been successful.
We like the same stuff you do. Like, I know whenever I can put one of my favorite characters in DJ Pony, I will put her in. I don't even care. I'm just like, if I can try, she's going in. It's terrible and stupid and selfish, but if I can do something little, you know, and I know I'm not the only, you know, DJ Pony fan or whatever, then why not? It's fun. It's cute.
And for the writers, we didn't know about all the background ponies. That's all stuff.
I didn't even know about the background ponies until, I don't know, season 2, and people were giving them names, and I'm
Right.
like, holy cow, you guys notice all the little things that we don't really pay attention to. It's kind of cool, but it's overwhelming.
You've told me that there's one background pony you didn't like the name that we came up with.
Octavia?
Yeah, you didn't like Octavia's name.
Whatever. I think they've shut me off, I think. Am I still here?
Well, and
I don't dislike it. It's just, I don't even know what I would pick. It doesn't really matter what I think anyways.
Well, you guys have also, in in other interviews I've done in other panels, I mean, you've said that, like, for example, the writers, you guys don't read fan fiction. You don't, because
We're
you don't
not-
want it to
yeah, we're not-
influence what you do.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've heard a lot of people, Lauren Fausta included, saying that, when they became aware of the fandom, they tried to make sure that there was a separation between how they approached the show, because if they pandered to the audience too much, it would no longer be Pony,
Right.
is the way they've described
Yeah, it would be something completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the fan fiction, it's one, we're not allowed to.
Yeah.
Two, if there is something, I mean, chances are there are going to be points where somebody's written a fan fiction that is going to be similar to something we might be writing because it's the same characters.
Yeah.
So it's just we just can't read it because if we say, oh yeah, we've been reading it, and then there's an episode that's similar, then somebody could say, hey, you stole my episode, and then you have all sorts of lawsuity stuff going on, and that's not fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. True. Yep.
Hi, my name is Prince Arrow. I'm actually an OC pony. I have a question for both of you ladies. What's the most funniest gag that you've ever written, and how hilarious would you hear if you when you first screen it? How do you the gag? I'm sorry. I'm just.
It's okay.
What's the most hilarious thing you've ever seen on My Little Pony, personally?
So, what's the funniest thing we've written?
Hilarious. The most hilarious thing you can hear from
That
My
we've
Little Pony.
written or that we've seen?
Yeah, what you heard
Written
from My
and
Little Pony, what you've written.
Ooh. I don't know,
I'm completely biased with this answer. I apologize. But it was the Pinkie Pie gag in Too Many Pinkie Pies with make a face look like this.
That was brilliant.
Was it you who put that in there?
We were trying so long to put something like that in. There was
it you?
never a place for it. There was never a place for it.
Who did that? Was it you?
Oh yeah, we fought for that one. We're doing it.
On behalf of the fandom, thank you.
As soon as I read the script, I'm like, that's it. That is the place. And we're going to fight to the death for this gag. I don't care.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Totally biased.
I was in a story meeting with Megan, and she showed me that episode, and oh man, that was I was stunned. I was like, whoa.
Because like we could have just done anything. Like, cause you just have her like cartoon gag, pull her mouth, but that's not funny. Like it has to be the stupidest thing ever.
Right. That was awesome.
I think it went over well.
I think so.
I'm trying to think of a funny gag that I've written in general.
You've written some funny stuff.
I've written some funny stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, well, you wrote at the gala, or best night ever, and there's a scene where Fluttershy explodes.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
That was kind of awesome.
Yeah, I like Fluttershy exploding and losing her marbles and kind of. It's not Norma Desmond, but I call her Norma Desmond moment in my mind. I also like Rarity smashing the glass slipper. That made me very happy. I remember in the story meeting, us talking about that and her going, "No, it's smash." So yeah.
It's fun to break characters too. Like I didn't work on that episode, but whoever got to draw Fluttershy flipping out was so lucky. Because every time I draw Fluttershy, it's always just meek and quiet. But man, that would have been fun to draw. Like it's nice to have those moments in the writing for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Arigato.
Hello, Spencer.
Hi, Spencer. Sapphire.
I'm not doing this.
There you go.
I am far too tall for that. So, hello, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you, Sibsy. That Pinkie Pie G1 thing was too good. Okay, this might work. My question is for Amy. You were involved in writing a dog and pony show in season 1.
Yes.
Along with 2 other writers. One of the characters that was featured on that episode that I just completely became enamored with was this little one here, Sapphire Shores. Now, she's appeared in past generations, but apparently, her appearance and even her personality was quite different. Who wrote her personality, or what was the inspiration behind her personality for this generation?
I came up with her personality.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And in my mind, she was Oprah Winfrey. And kind of RuPaul.
I think I speak for everyone when we say that her personality is
Sensational.
There you go.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I just fell in love with her character, and I do this little bit, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's like Sapphire Shores," and just love this little one here. Thank you for conceiving her and making her what she is.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Much to tell. All right. First of all, thank you guys for so much that you do. I had sort of a two-part question. Do you go back and watch the episodes? And if you do, does it take anything away from the episode if you've written on it or storyboarded on it? If you know how it's going to turn out or you know that you've worked on it, is it more of a thing when you watch it? Does it take away from the episode, or do you like to marvel at your work?
That's a good question.
I mean, I always watch the episode. For me, I write it, and once it gets sent away to be boarded and all that, I never see it again until it airs. So I always watch it because otherwise I don't find out how it turns out.
They're always good, don't worry.
Yeah, I bet they're awesome. No, so I always watch them, and I'm always really excited to watch them and see what happens and see how it turns out. And I actually watch all the episodes because I really enjoy the show. And just to see how everything turns out. And it doesn't take away from it for me at all because everything is added upon so much. I love to see what the final product is.
It totally kills it for me. It does. Working on it, especially working on an episode, you can't look at it from an outsider's point of view. You're too close to it, and you're nitpicking everything on the screen once it comes back. It's like, oh, that's not exactly how I pictured it to work out of my head, but it's still good, but it's not maybe exactly how the timing or whatever. At least for episodes I've worked on, I like going back and watching, I like watching my peers work because I like seeing what they do with the characters, and they might add a little nuance with the CMCs or something. Like next time I board a Cutie Mark Crusader episode, I can keep that in mind and maybe reference back to it or keep the continuity going a little bit or build on what they've started. So I like watching other people's episodes, but watching mine just make me go ooh sometimes because, again, you're just so close to it. But the same thing as you, it's good to see everything. It's good to watch all the episodes because you want to see how the characters are evolving. Because if you only focus on the 4 or 5 episodes you board a season, all you're getting is what your interpretation of Rarity or Twilight is. You want to see how everyone comes together to make it what it is. So it's better to be open-minded and just take 20 minutes out and watch the episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Hello. My question's actually for Sabrina, but I'd like to ask the question before the question. Did you storyboard for Magical Mystery Cure?
For what, sorry?
For the Magical Mystery Cure?
I did not storyboard it, I didn't thumbnail it. I just helped on cleanup because it was such a heavy show that they needed an extra hand at the end of the season. So I cleaned up a few song sequences. I think the one with the animals and the one at the end. What's the one? You know what I'm talking about, the animal one, right? I'm not forgetting.
For Magical Mystery Cure?
That's the Twilight
So the
Wing
True
episode.
Friend? Or?
I can't remember.
Because
no.
There were a lot of songs in that episode.
I know. Yeah, I did the first song that Twilight sings, I cleaned up. The one with the Cutie Mark one. And then I helped a little bit at the end with when she's she's coming in. No,
Yeah,
no,
Life
no,
in
where she's
Equestria
coming in
Reapers.
and getting her crown and all that. That was just because they need an extra hand with cleanup.
Because there's a scene in A True True Friend
Yeah.
where this male pony bumps into a female pony, and the female pony just shakes her fist in the air, and it just seems like it has you written all over it. It's just that kind of comedy. It just
I
strikes
actually
me as-
didn't board that, but whoever boarded it with that intention. I'll just leave it at that. Can't say anything.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Every time I see that, I think Corollas.
Yeah.
Hello. Earlier, in this panel, you said how when you're doing a song, you get the recording of the song to time it out.
Mm-hmm.
But for non-song stuff, do you get recordings of the voice actor's performance to board with?
Yeah, we get like a rough track of just the voices, so we can figure out what kind of acting we should play to it.
Okay, so to clarify, it's script, voice recording, then storyboarding?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's just all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm sorry, are you a moose?
There's a moose here?
I think there might be one on your head.
That'd be kind of distracting. I think I would know if there was a moose in my head. So, you said that for every act, there are about 11 pages, and like there's 3 for the teaser or whatever. Does that ever like change? And do you, especially for two-parters, like do you know the difference?
I've never written a two-parter, but I would assume that you still have your teaser at the beginning, and the thing is, you still always have to have your commercial breaks. So yeah, it's still gonna be the 11 minutes. It's just, I think probably the buildup of it ends up being different, and kind of how it's structured. But you're still gonna have 3 11s for the first half hour and another 3 11s for the second. It's just a matter of you're gonna have a lot. You're not resolving anything at the end of that first half hour the way you would be in a regular 22-minute episode. You have to have a really big oh crap moment, as I like to call it, and then
to make you want to come back and
to make you want to come back, and then actually, you're starting the next 22. Your teaser is instead your recap. So you're doing that, and then you go into it, and
then it's crazy.
And then it's crazy
and
town.
You never want to work ever again.
Yeah, from what I've heard, Megan's written a bunch of those two-parters. They're challenging.
Yeah, they're very challenging.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and we're running low on time, so unfortunately this has to be the last question, but there is going to be a Storyboarders panel on Sunday, I believe, so if you have any additional questions, you can get them then. Sorry.
Okay, question for Sibsy. So, what is the difference between storyboarding for a show like Ponies compared to storyboarding for a movie like Equestria Girls?
Mainly the time that we have to do it. Equestria Girls, we were given a few extra weeks to do it, not much more to do it. There was a team, I think of 5 of us that did it, and we took the script and we split it up into kind of our own acts, and one person took the beginning, a little bit after the beginning, middle, and then end, and we just do it how we always do, how we would board a regular show. For the DVD, it was a bit different because, it was supposed to be a little bit grander in ways, but again, with time constraints, we do the best we can with what we're given in the time. And I had a really fun time working on it just because it was characters I was familiar with and that everyone's familiar with, but I got to draw hands for a change, which was nice. But it wasn't something so brand new that it was so daunting to have to figure out in a fairly short period of time that we had to do it. So I'm glad it wasn't, again, like a whole new property.
Right.
But yeah, it's basically just time and less time to learn how to draw them, which was I think we had like a week before we actually got to like take time and practice the characters, because like we've been drawing these for, well, and I've been drawing these for like 3 years plus, and I haven't drawn a human in I don't know how long. So I'm like, how do I draw this again and not look terrible? So it was nice that we had a little bit of overlap where we can kind of become more comfortable with the property at the time. But yeah, that's it. Time, really boring, I know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Well, like I said, on Sunday there's going to be another Storyboarders panel. So if you have any further questions for Sibsy, and I think Raven's going to be there too.
Oh, she's going to be there.
And it's going to be awesome. But why don't we get a round of applause for Amy King Rogers and Sabrina Alberghetti?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.